I've not gone easy tonight. It is what it is. Those of you who've worked with me before, which is nobody really, Cheryl has, but it's a while now. You're not supposed to know what you're doing. You're not supposed to be good at it. You know, if you were good at it, you wouldn't be here, right? So zip up your big girl panties and enjoy. And if you need to kind of stop and chill, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to be constantly watching what everybody's doing. That's not what it's about. It's just a different way of moving your body. You'll have done some of the movements before. There's some planks in there. There's all sorts in there. But the upshot about tonight is all about control. The more control you have over the center of your body, the better your control will be over the extremities, so your arms and legs. Yeah, so it's all about core, it's all about glutes, it's all about hips, and it's how much control you have over them. Are we ready to rumble? Oh, look at the excitement on all your faces. Yay. All right, so to start off with, come down onto all fours, and I'm facing you. You don't need to face me. You choose a position that works for you. And then you're going to take, so my knees are under my hips and my wrists are under my shoulders. And then you're going to take your knees wider than your hips and just go somewhere where it's relatively comfortable to start with. I'll turn slightly sideways on you so you can see. So I'm going slightly wider with the knees, and then I'm going to go even wider with the feet. So my feet are turned out, and my knees are wider than my hips. Yeah, and you just find a spot that works for you to start with. And so from there, all you're going to do is rock back. And as you rock back and you take your butt back towards your heels, you should feel some tension or some stuff going on in the hip joints. And then you rock forward over your wrists. You take it back and then rock forward over your wrists. So you forward and back. Dead simple to start with. Good, good. If you can go a little bit wider with your knees, do so. If you can't, that's okay too. And just, it is uncomfortable on the knees, it just is where it is. Yeah. So slowly forward and back. And this is pure hip mobility. You're just moving your thigh bones in your hip sockets. Now this time, as you come forward over your wrist, and you're going to pick up your whichever foot, doesn't matter. You're going to pick up your foot and like you're trying to bring it towards your shoulder. Yeah? And it goes back down and you rock back. As you come forward, pick up the opposite foot, like you're trying to bring it towards your shoulder. And try not to move anything else. And it comes back down exactly where it came from and you rock back. Forward, foot, rock back. Forward, foot, rock back. And just keep alternating between your feet as you rock forwards and back. So you're moving the thigh bone now into internal rotation in its socket. Rocking forwards and back. Now, if I said to you, try and keep your bottom sticking up towards the ceiling as you do this. So you don't want to be tucking your butt under. So try and keep your butt stuck up to the ceiling, even as the foot comes up. So my favourite saying is, if in doubt, stick your ass out. In everything in life. Couple more. And last one. Now, watch carefully. So instead of coming up onto your knees, you're going to come up onto your feet. So I'm going to rock forward. As I push back, it's almost like a downward dog, but just wider in the legs. Then you bring your knees back down and you rock forward. That's it. Nice, nice. So you rock back, push down into the feet, down into your hands, stick your butt in the air, And then come back onto the knees, exactly where you left off from, and rock forward. Rock back, lift up, come back onto the knees and rock forward. Rock back, push up, knees come back down, and drop forward. A couple more. Good. I like the way Cheryl's hiding. Cheryl's got her camera up so high that I can't see what she's doing. That's crafty, that. I like it. She knows me far too well. Last one. And then come all the way down and bring your feet and your legs back underneath you. So this time, coming on to all fours. So this time you definitely wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Ah, Cheryl, you're being brave. Let me see what you're doing. So nice and easy all fours. We call this the hurdle. You're going to hurdle the back leg. So whichever leg you choose, I'm going to go with my right leg. You're going to bring your right knee to your right wrist. And you're going to pick it up in a big circle like you're putting it over a hurdle and bring it back down to the knee. So I'm going to touch knees and I'm going to bring it in a big circle and bring it back to the wrist. Big circle over to the knee. And you can see I'm kind of moving forwards and backwards as well. Let your body kind of go where it wants to. Wrist, knee. Wrist, knee. There's a massive circle with the hip, with the leg. Like trying to pick it up over a hurdle. That towards the elbow, touch the elbow with the knee. And then big hurdle, but as you go back, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and reach your knee over your foot. So I touch down past my foot if I can, and then I come forward, come up, come over my hurdle and touch the elbow. And being unbalanced is good. Massive hurdle, push back with the arms, take the knee past the foot, reach back as far as you can, and then pull yourself forward, come over your hurdle and touch the knee. Over your hurdle and push all the way back, all the way back, all the way back, all the way back. And all the way forward to the elbow. You're just making this movement as big as you can. That's all it's about. I'm keeping the back knee bent. So the knee that's working, I'm keeping that bent, the right one. You can do it straight, but I don't have enough room. So if your leg's straightening out, that's absolutely fine. Makes it a little bit harder. Elbow, and then reach, 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 reach. One last time, coming all the way up and over to the elbow. And then of course we've got to switch sides. I'm only turning around so the leg that I'm working is facing you, just in case you need it. But from there, same again. You bring left knee, left wrist, pick it up in a big circle, over a hurdle, and bring it to the knee. Nice and small to start with, well, relatively small. Over your hurdle, back to your wrist. So this is like slight movement backwards and forwards. Over your hurdle to your wrist. Over your hurdle to your knee. And then start to make it a bit bigger, comes to the elbow. Comes over the hurdle, you push back, and you bring the knee down past the foot if you can, or wherever it lands, it's fine. And then back over the hurdle to the elbow. Big hurdle, push back, land the knee past the foot, big hurdle, back to the elbow. And keep going. Two more, or thereabouts. Nicely done. Last one. Good. And rest it back down. And then coming back to that initial position that we were in, I call it a frog rock back. So we were on our hands and knees, then we took our knees wider than our hips, we took our feet wider than our knees, but this time you're going to come down onto your elbows. So it just alters, and I did some in between just to give your knees a bit of a break, because it gets a bit uncomfortably being on the inside of the knees, so apologies for that. But once you're on your elbows, bring your hands together into, you can interlace your fingers, but it's the same movement. You're rocking forwards and back, forwards and back. So we're going to bring in a little bit of upper body work. So you're going to bring your nose to the floor in front of your hands. Nose to the floor, and then push your forearms into the floor to bring you back up. Yeah. So nose comes to the floor, or thereabouts. Push your forearms into the floor to bring you back up. So taking just a tiny bit of upper body work. Nose comes to the floor, push away. Nose comes to the floor, and push away. Good, keep going. And try not to confuse the issue too much with breathing, but if you can inhale on the way down and exhale as you push away, that would be amazing. But if the breathing is an added complication that your brain doesn't need right now, that's okay too. Just try not to hold your breath. Last couple. And last one. Nice girl, knees all right. Just come on to your bottom. Come on to your bottom. Sitting upright. And you bring your hands, fingertips pointing forward. If that's a bit uncomfortable on your wrist, I'm fine with fingertips pointing out, but forward if you can. The knees out, or legs out straight. We're all about there. And then we need to put a tiny knee bend in. So about that. I don't even know what, I'm not great with physics, so whatever angle that is, try and copy that. Now you're going to push down into your heels and lift your butt off the floor. And you should feel, you might feel your hamstrings and your glutes kind of get involved with that. Yeah. And then you're going to pull with your heels and come forward. So you get a stretch in the chest, the shoulders, and then push back with the heels. And you might just get your legs straight, so now you've got a little bit more work in the arms. So pull with the heels, stretch the shoulders, push with the heels, and take it back. Pull and push. And pull. And on this next one, as you come to this almost like legs are extended, you're resting on your arms, or you can lift your hips up that little bit higher. So I'm pushing my heels down to lift my hips up. This is not an easy position to be in. I want you to keep your hips lifted this time as you pull. So I'm keeping you lifted as I pull forward. And you might not get as far, but you should feel it more in your hamstrings and your glutes. Push back, keep your hips lifted, and pull forward. And push back, and don't worry, you've only got a few more to do because your wrists are probably crippling, just like mine are. Pull forward, and push back. Lift if you can, push it down even more, last one. Pull. And push, and then rest. And give your wrists a well-earned break. Give them a wiggle. If anybody wants to make a real gesture at me right now, because the wrists are really sore, now is the time.
The only place I could feel that was my shoulders.
Great.
Is that all right?
Yeah. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. All right, so sticking with our sitting on butt theme, this is a Z sit. So try to think of the best way to describe this. My legs are out in front and I bring them both round to one side. I've got my foot roughly in line with one knee and almost 90-degree angles. I'm sure you'll have sat like this as a kid at some point. Now, if you can sit up there, that's brilliant. And as women, we tend to be able to do this a lot easier than men, which is kind of cool. But if this is a little bit awkward, you can always come back onto your hands. So you're kind of leaning away from this position. And you might need to do that, especially if you're tight from last night, like I am a little bit. So we're in this Z sit position, and we're going to switch sides. So if you can, and you don't need your arms, yay, you switch your legs over. If you need your arms, rest your arms at the back, and your knees will move a lot easier. Like windscreen wipers, I suppose, aren't they? So, and if you don't need your arms, great. And at this, kind of, with this exercise or with this movement, they're likely to stay upright, which is fine. But if you find you kind of self collapsing a little bit at this moment in time, that's okay. So you want to keep your heels as close to your body as you can, but the same thing applies. This makes it easier, putting your hands back. It makes it easier to move your feet away from you. And there's nothing wrong with that because it just alters what's going on in the hip. So you can have your feet really close, which makes it quite difficult to kind of move. Or you can have your feet further away, slightly apart, which just makes it a bigger movement. And you can see I'm kind of moving my arms. I'm not trying to create tension in my upper body. I'm just trying to get as much movement as I can through the hip. I seem to be working my way out of the cat flap, however. So I'm going to move back. Fortunately, the furry apprentice left the building before we started. She was quite intrigued about what I was doing with the mat being out in the kitchen, but she's left the building. Just a couple more. Turn this way so I can see what's coming next. Oh yes, love that. And then bring it home. Well done, good. Okay, so my favourite plank. Probably not your favourite plank, but it's my favourite plank. Oh, yeah. All fours plank. So if you are wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, if in doubt, stick your ass out. Yeah, so I don't want to see this. I want a pert bottom at the back. Yeah, and then tuck your toes under. So this is like your first level plank, because you're not on your elbows, you're not on your hands, you're in an all fours position. And then we're going to ask you to raise your knees an inch off the floor. The fairy helper's just arrived. Hello, fairy helper. So lift your knees an inch off the ground. Okay, everybody's got that, and come back down. Now this time, I want you to lift, well, not even lift, I want you to unweight your knees. So I want you to be able to control it enough that you can take the weight out of your knees. You probably won't even be able to see me move, but I've no weight in my knees, but they're still touching the mat. And then lower back down. Or weight your knees. I'm hoping this makes sense. This is probably the hardest thing to get across when you can't actually see me moving. So I'm going to unweight my knees. Feel the tension build in my core, pelvic floor probably as well. And if you can't hear that, I'm brushing the mat with my knees. So they're still touching and then release. So if I just say to you, lift your knees off the mat, and you go, yay, dead easy. Yeah, because you can do it at speed. Or I say to you, slowly take the weight out of your knees. so that they're just brushing the mat. I hope everybody is suffering just as much as I am, and then bring your weight back down. So we're going to add on to that sheer misery. I'm going to take it into a forward and back movement. So unweight your knees. And then push into the hands, keeping your knees just touching the mat, and take your butt towards your heels. And then bring it forward and bring your knees down. If you're not sweating by now, you will be very shortly. Same thing, we unweight the knees, they're still touching the mat, but there's no weight in them. You take your butt back to your heels, you pull forward, which works the quads, which are your running muscles at this moment in time, and then lower. Unweight the knees, take it back. Spring forward, come down. Unweight the knees, push back, spring forward, bring it down. Last one, lift, take it back, spring it forward, and bring it back down. Well done. You'll be delighted to hear that it is now a moment of reprieve for your knees, your thighs, and your wrists, and not so much for your glutes. So coming back down to the mat on your back this time, we're going to take it through some bridges, the glutes mainly. So coming down onto your back, heels comfortably close to your butt. And the further away your heels are from your butt, the more hamstring you work. The closer your heels are to your butt, in theory, they both work, but closer they are, the more glute you get. But you've got to find that happy medium about where you can get all the way up so that you are one long line from shoulder through hip to knee. Because if you're too close, like me there, I can't, especially after last night, my quads are burning a little bit, so I can't really get all the way up. So find a happy medium where you feel like you are one long line, like a big ski slope, all the way down. Yeah. So just taking it into a few bridges to start with, just to work it out, what we're doing. When you lift up your hips, and I'm going to take my arms out of the way so you can see. When you lift up the hips, what you don't want is that. So if you can see, my butt is kind of, we call it your butt dangling in the basement. You've got to get your ass up to open out the front of the hip. So you want to be in a position where you can get that real hip thrust up towards the ceiling, as opposed to letting everything dangle. And one of the you might be able to hear it in my voice. One of the reasons, or one of the ways that I know when somebody's kind of arching the back to get up, is because their chest gets in the way of their throat. So if I bring my ribs down and lift my hips up, all this is free. Of course, I don't have boobies. So those of you with boobies, whose boobies have all dropped onto the throat, apologies, but that's the way it is. And then slowly down. So just a few more like that, all the way up to the ceiling. Use the glutes, press down into the feet. Make sure the ball of the big toe and the ball of the little toe are connected with the floor. So you want to feel your heel, your big toe, and your little toe, and then release back down. Same again, push into the feet, squeeze the glutes, lift up to the ceiling. And again, coming back down. One last time, up, and you're holding this time at the top. Make sure you're breathing. And then from there, you're going to lift the heels. So it becomes a calf raise exercise. So you're going to lift the heels up and place them down. Lift the heels, place them down. And keep going with that, but make sure that your hips aren't sinking back down to the floor. So heel lift, down. Heel lift, down. Heel lift and down. Make sure you can feel your big toe. Keep going. Last one. Heels down, lower your butt to the floor. And then from there, this is a brief reprieve. And then take your knees out to the side, but the soles of the feet together. Knees out to the side, soles of the feet together. Same thing with the bridge. push down onto the outside edges of your feet and lift your hips up. You aren't going to get that high, but it's a completely different movement. And then lower back down. Lift and lower. And you want to keep pressing your knees out. So we're trying to get some length in these inner thigh muscles. And it works the hips and the glutes just in a different way. And lower. And keep going. Make sure you're breathing. Not bothered how you breathe, just as long as you are doing. Just try not to hold your breath. I'm talking through all this, so I know I'm breathing. Try and keep your shoulders, your arms, your face, everything else as relaxed as you can. So the movement is just coming through the hips. We're going to go 3 more. 2 more. And last one. Lift and lower. And then bring it back to the original bridge position. Don't go too wide with your feet because we're going to take it into a marching bridge. So we're going to be lifting the legs. So you don't want to be close together. You don't want to be too far apart. If you need to reset, feel free. But from there, come up into your bridge. And I also need to go a little bit narrow with my feet. Up into your bridge, one long line from shoulders through knees. And then you're going to march. So we're going to pick up the left knee. Try not to let the right side of the pelvis drop. And then place it back down. Switching sides. Right knee comes up. Left knee comes up. So there's a marching bridge. That's all we're doing. I say that's all we're doing. We're asking one leg to support the weight of the body or the weight of the pelvis. We'll go 4, 3, 2, and last one. Well done. And lower the hips all the way down to the ground. Give your knees a hug. So pull them into the chest and then just rock gently from side to side or whatever kind of feels nice. You can stay put if you wish. Okay, and then from there, take the legs out long. Dead simple hamstring stretch. Bring one leg up towards the ceiling, keep the legs straight, hands behind the thigh or the knee or whatever you can get hold of, and gently pull it towards you. From there, point and flex at the ankle. So point and flex the toes. So whichever leg you've got up in the air, bend it, take the opposite hand over the knee, and you're going to pull it across the body. Let your whole body twist, and then open out the opposite arm towards the floor. And just breathe. Doesn't matter what it looks like, how high the knee is, all of that kind of stuff. Just looking for a tiny bit of rotation through the spine. And then bring it back through center and switch sides. So the opposite leg comes up. Hands behind knee, thigh, calf, whichever. Depends how bendy you are, doesn't really matter. And then gently pull it towards you. Just breathe as you stretch. Bend the knee. Opposite hand comes over the knee, pulls it across the body. Hopefully it touches on the other side. Touches the floor, obviously. And then let the body open out to the opposite side. Might get the odd crick and crack. I hope you can't hear mine. Breathe and open. And then bring it back through center. Come up to seated. One last stretch. One that we've probably all done before. Soles of the feet together. Up to you. You can hold the feet and use the feet and the arms to pull yourself upright. If it's more comfortable holding your ankles, that's okay too. You want to be able to almost like leverage yourself up as tall as you can possibly be, and then use your elbows on your inner thighs to push down to give you that stretch into the groin. You can play with both. You can try ankles. I quite like feet, but I can't get my elbows down on my inner thighs. My elbows aren't, or my arms aren't long enough. So I have to use the muscles of my legs. So you've got a choice, doesn't really matter. They're both useful. Wiggle about if you want, there's no need to stay stationary. I'm just taking it into the groin stretch. And then from there, take hold of one ankle. I'm going with my right leg. It's been 2 years since I've taught a group class where I've had to mirror. I ain't even going to try it, right? So I'm going with my right leg. Listen to my words, don't look at my body. Right leg goes out to the side. If you've still got hold of your ankle, well done. If not, that's okay too. Hang on to wherever you can get hold of and bring your chest forward over that leg. Notice how I said chest, not nose, not chin, chest. None of this. None of this cheating with the head. I look amazing, look at my stretch with my head. I see you, because I want to do it too. Good, good, good. All right, and then bring that leg back in, drag it back in, take hold of the other ankle, pick it up, place it out, even if your hand slides. So I'm pulling everything in, or the opposite leg in. And then again, take your chest down over your thigh. Breathe, etc., etc. And so again, bring it back in. If you can kind of pick it up with your hand, you kind of get that bit of effort to bring things back in. If you can then bring both legs out. This is where I see everybody fall over backwards. Ah! It's not this, it's not wide, it's up. That's it. Up. Add in. 2 up. Add in. And last one. Up. Add in. Well done. Bit of frivolity to finish.